What's up, everybody? My name's Dan, and we got a new Marvel Villainous Expansion. Let's check it out. So 2 days ago, we got an article dropped from comicbook.com announcing the next Marvel Villainous Expansion. I was not expecting it. In fact, we were in the middle of recording a podcast episode when I saw the announcement and saw the news. So I'm like, hang on, hold the phone. Let me check out. Let me see what's going on here. So coming to find out, we got a new expansion. So let's take a look. Let's dive right in. So in this expansion, there are 3 new villains. We've got Doc Ock, you've got Titania, and you've got Kang the Conqueror. One of the things about Marvel Villainous that's much different from the Disney version, even the Star Wars version, Marvel Villainous is much more interactive and it's much more competitive than the other two, okay? And they even say so in the article itself. Each box so far has essentially been built around a certain theme, I'll say, and it's actually the shared fate deck. So one of the mechanics with Marvel Villainous that's much separate from the other Villainous expansions is the idea of a common and shared fate deck. In at least the Disney Villainous boxes, each character has their own fate deck, but in Marvel, that gets to a shared deck, a shared pool, essentially. So what they did with the first box, Infinite Power, is they themed all of those cards around the Avengers. They focused heavily on the Avengers. In the second set, with Loki, Mischief, and Malice, that set focused on S.H.I.E.L.D. With the Twisted Ambition set, after reading the article, the designers thought about these villains, Doc Ock, Titania, and Kang, and what they have in common, and they settled on New York. So New York, and then what's really most common in the Marvel universe that's synonymous with New York, Spider-Man, right? So they centered everything around New York and the Spider-Verse. So that's how they kind of centered and themed this entire set around. So it's really, really, really interesting. I'm excited to get into this. That we don't really know much else, but we do know a few cards. So let's actually go in and check those out real quick. So the first one is with Doc Ock. And the thing that we see with Doc Ock is this card is called Genius Scientist. It's a 2-cost effect, which states draw 5 cards, discard 4 cards from your hand. That is literally insane, right? It's essentially a cantrip, right? So it's replacing itself in your hand, but you're digging deep. You're digging 5 cards deep to get the cards that you need. This is an insane card. I don't even know anything about the deck, but this is an amazing card. The one thing we do know about Doc Ock, his goal is he needs to complete 5 schemes, and those 5 schemes range anywhere from collecting power to defeating Spider-Man. So what the other 3 schemes are, we don't know yet. At least I don't know. If you guys do know, leave a comment down below and let us know. But that's what we know so far about Doctor Octopus. So now let's take a look at Titania. So the one thing we see with Titania is she has another effect. So this is a 3-cost effect called Display of Power. If Titania is at a location with one of her allies who has equal or more strength than Titania, she gets +1 strength. Now, another thing we see in this photo is this strength tracker. So she goes from 1 to 8, and once she's at 8, and I'm not sure if it's at 8 or if it's above 8, it says empowered there. So there's a strength tracker which has an activate symbol, which says when empowered, which is strength 8. Okay, there we go. Find any She-Hulk and play her to Titania's location. So what Titania's goal is to gain strength to become empowered to defeat She-Hulk. So a very linear strategy here. Gain strength, go from 1 to 8, then you become empowered, and then you're able to defeat She-Hulk. So it seems like it's going to be a very linear strategy. Again, with all these villainous games, one of the things that I love about them is just the theming, and they really making you feel like you're playing that character. So I'm very, very much excited to see how each of these villains plays. And so for Titania, it looks very, very interesting to see how we're going to be able to gain strength and then to defeat She-Hulk. So, I mean, the thing that I always go to is if the goal is to defeat a certain character, you have to have ways of finding that character and putting them out on your board. So, for example, with She-Hulk, if She-Hulk were in another villain's domain, for example, because again, that's a very possible thing that can happen. with the common and shared fate deck is you need to be able to find her. If that's my win condition, I need to be able to find that card for my win condition. So we see that here, which is again, I'm not very surprised because Ravensburger has done very well at the design of this game. All right, and now we check out Kang the Conqueror. So what we see from Kang the Conqueror is again another effect. The cost is, we don't know, it's a question mark. Now the card is Divergence. It says choose another player and pay up to 3 power. For each power paid, reveal the top 3 cards of that player's villain deck. So there's a couple things with Kang that I see here. So this card could be either 1, 2, or 3. Now my assumption with this card is you reveal those, they stay on top of the deck. So essentially Kang just knows what his opponent is going to draw into essentially. Normally when you see cards reveal, where it says you reveal the cards, they'll then tell you what to do with those cards. My assumption is they'll stay on the deck. Now the other thing we see in this photo is these tokens. So what Kang's objective states he needs to use variants to appear in other villain decks to conquer 4 locations in other villains' domains or realms essentially. So in a 1v1, he's gonna have to conquer every other location that is in his opponent's domain. What it looks like is in order to do this, he needs to use essentially variants, and again with Kang the Conqueror, you know, he conquers time and there's multiple different variations of Kang. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm a big fan of Kang. I really like his character, especially in the comics. One of my favorites. So I'm excited to see how that translates to Villainous. So I'm very excited to see that. So that's pretty much all we got from this article. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Let me know what you think. Very interested for these 3 villains, but I want to know, who do you want to see? What other villains in the Marvel Villainous version do you want to see next? There's a lot that I'm interested in. I do like that we have Venom. Venom's pretty great. Kingpin is one that I'm very interested to see if we can get a Kingpin in there. There's so many great villains to choose from, but I think the ones in this set are going to be very interesting. Not a huge fan of Titania, but I get why they included her. So again, be very interested to see how she plays as a character. But again, who do you want to see? Let me know down in the comments down below. And are you upset and disappointed that this was not a Disney Villainous expansion? Very curious when we're going to get the next Disney Villainous expansion. So again, let me know your comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. See you, everybody.